central issue of our time, the most important issue facing us in the 21st century, and that there was a clear choice in that election. We're either going to work towards peace, de-escalate tensions, move away from this new Cold War, or we will continue to race rapidly towards nuclear break, toward a new Cold War with Russia, a new Cold War with China, and therefore racing towards nuclear war. Now, for those of you who remember that election, this issue was not important to the media. They refused to talk about it. They refused to raise the question in the debates. There was no other candidate willing to talk about this issue. It was not important to them then, and it's not important to them now. And so here we are, 2 short years later. What I warned about then is now our reality. This proxy war that we're fighting against Russia right now could turn at any moment into a direct conflict between the United States, NATO, and Russia, a country that has more nuclear weapons than any other in the world. Now, anyone with a little bit of common sense knows that a Cold War can very quickly turn to a hot war. And when you're waging a hot war against a nuclear-armed country, it's just a matter of time before it leads to the use of nuclear weapons at any moment. And here's the insanity of it all. We have talking heads on TV, we have politicians, we have very powerful people here in the United States and all around the world speaking with a straight face, well, you know, if we start World War III or when World War III starts, here's how we're going to fight and win. That if Putin decides to use tactical nuclear weapons, here's what we're going to do, as though such a war could ever be won. It cannot be won. World War III cannot be won. They're living in this archaic mindset of World War I and World War II and not facing the realities that we have today. There is no way to win a nuclear war. There is only one end, and that is a nuclear holocaust. So we're gathered here today because we know that it doesn't have to be this way. We know that there is a better way and that the task before us is urgent and necessary. We have people gathered here from all over the country, people who are gathered here from all ends of the political spectrum. And if we were to have a conversation, my guess is there may be other things we don't agree on. But the truth is that we could disagree about everything else. Everything else. But the one thing that we do agree on that brings us together here today is that we value life. We want to live. We want our loved ones to live and thrive. We want to be able to go out on a day like today and walk in the trees and hear the birds chirping with the sun shining down on our face. We understand that whatever our differences may be, that we must stand together as people who cherish peace, security, and freedom. We must set aside our differences, work together to fire those warmongering politicians from both political parties who serve their masters in the military-industrial complex instead of serving the people. Those warmongers who carelessly and thoughtlessly are sending us hurtling towards a nuclear holocaust that would destroy all life and the world as we know it. The only way we can stop them is when we stand together and lift our voices in unity, telling them no. We will not let you destroy us. We will not let you destroy our loved ones, our communities, our country, here in the United States and around the world. If we stand together on this one issue, we will be able to wrest the power away from those who don't care about us, those who bend the knee to their overlords in the military-industrial complex, take back that power and ensure that we take those trillions of dollars they are feeding into the war machine and instead dedicate those resources towards peace, prosperity, and freedom. We cannot be free and prosperous or safe unless we are at peace. We are the spark that has the power to light that fire to bring about change. So let that spark of love that exists in every single one of our hearts, that aloha, be that inspiration and that fuel that provides us with the courage to fight against these powerful entities, knowing that our cause is just, it is right, and it is necessary. We must work together towards this future in fulfilling and accomplishing this mission of peace. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thank you so much for that unifying message.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, give it up for the Congresswoman.
All right. Up next, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the hero of the Liberty Movement, former presidential candidate, and former congressman. Let's give it up for Congressman Dr. Ron Paul. In the Fed. Oh, right over here.
They stole my line. No, I was going to say and open up by saying thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation. I like to visit places where I have friends. There are a lot of friends of liberty out here and a lot of friends of peace. So I get energized with coming here. A lot of people give me some credit for coming and helping them along. But the truth is, I get energized. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for inviting me.
What's it say?
You know, I was going to say
What is it?
You need a photograph. Sure. Everybody has joined in. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I did.
We need to expand the war. We're not doing well in Ukraine, but we need to take on the Russians. That'll go better. Oh no, we need to go to China. And we're still struggling in Syria. Now, nobody's for that, but at least I haven't heard of them. They didn't get a place. I hope they didn't ever get a place on the platform for that. So this has been, you know, wonderful to come to a place that comes together on this issue. The one thing is that I've emphasized over the years, speaking in a couple of campaigns, is that you know, it's serious. And we just heard this very serious dissertation about how serious the problem we deal with. But you know, with that, understanding how serious this is, my admonition is always come together and have fun. And I understand a lot of people have been having fun today, meeting new people and joining. I think that's great. But you know, I also came because I've been concerned. I've been really worried about something. And I haven't figured it out yet. I'm not into technology and all. I want to know more about this thing called artificial intelligence. What is that all about? You know, I figured it out. I put up with it for 23 years in the Congress, and there was a lot of artificial intelligence over there, let me tell you. A lot of innuendos and whatnot. But you know, I wanted to simplify my speech, and of course somebody stole my line, but I think that we can deal with the war issue very simply. And believe me, and I'll explain it more why I believe this, that the answer is end the Fed. I knew there were friends here. Thank you. No, and there's a reason why ending the Fed is a movement toward stopping these wars. How do they finance them? They have to tax the people. Well, they tax them with income taxes and all kinds of taxes, but they never have enough money. They never have enough money, so they have to borrow a lot of money, and then people get tired borrowing the money and loaning the money to the government. So what do? They have this little gimmick called run up the debt and print the money. And you know, if you're on the side of thinking our government is too big, and as libertarians, we generally think the government's too big all over the place, and we'd like to cut back. So if you can't print the money and you can't collect the taxes by debasing the currency and stealing the wealth from the people, unnerving the middle class and the poor, because that's who really pays for this, you couldn't have a war. You couldn't have runaway spending. You couldn't have debts. And we should have it in the Constitution, and Jefferson argued for it. He said that you shouldn't even be allowed to have debt. I think that's a pretty good idea. No debt at all. So that is the way they just soften it up, and the people go along with it and figure that, yes, we can do it, but they don't understand what's happening. But why do the people go along with it? And we spent a lot of time over the Mideast wars trying to stop that war. I didn't do too well. They still had the war, and you keep wondering why do they do it? Why does the government do it? It doesn't make any sense. Why do the people go to war? You know, one thing I'd like to suggest is, if we ever got around to thinking that we ought to vote on the wars instead of letting an executive order take us to war, we ought to have a vote. If you think you should have a war, have a vote and make sure that the vote is carried out by the people between 18 and 24. That is the group that gets punished the most, and the others could recreate the wars. But, you know, trying to figure still out of that, I thought I'd ask this guy that sort of just helped destroy Germany, Hermann Göring. You remember him? And he has a famous quote out there. Why do the people do it? And this was after he was convicted at Nuremberg. You know, that he had some interviews. And they said, why did the people do it? And he had two things. He says, one, you got to lie to the people, and they have to be big lies. If they're just routine lies, they won't believe it. But if they're so big, it's so outrageous, they'll say nobody could believe that's true, and they'd ignore it. But tell big lies and tell them often, the people will go along with the war. Yeah, but still, why do the people do it? And they march off, and even a lot of the wars start off, people are against the war. World War II and certainly the Middle Eastern wars, the people were opposed to it. But and this is Göring, and I'll paraphrase, of course. He says, scare the living daylights out of the people. Tell them they aren't patriotic, and they aren't for peace. And embarrass him. No problem. He says it works every time in every system of government in every country. Just scare the living daylights out of people. And you know, I think that type of analysis applies to our war, scare people, and patriotism. And I'll bet you there's many people in this audience.
Sorry, it's a 300 millimeter, so I have to
be on the receiving end of that type of thing. Oh, you're not.
Where can I get a copy of that paper?
You're un-American. And they did that once to me in the campaign.
Your problem.
And it turned out that they were accusing me of being unpatriotic. I wouldn't support the war. You wouldn't support the troops. But when somebody came up with a statistic, it showed that Ron Paul had the most donations from the military. And then I got to thinking, well, why should that be a surprise? I was in the military. They sort of drafted me, and I was in. But the people I knew, they were decent people, and the draft was on at that time. And they would say, well, why are you doing this? And the draft, of course, has not been used, but there's other ways of doing it. You know, the book should be clean. We should, if we're not for the draft, why do we have registration? They know where every one of us is. Not every year where you sign up with taxes. Every minute of the day, they know where every one of us is, and then they still make us go through the ritual of registering in case there's a war going on. You know, it's psychological preparation for people to know that if you want to be a good citizen and you want to be a patriot, you have to go to the wars. And people go along with that, and they don't want to be called unpatriotic. And I think we all sense and understand and may have some empathy for that, but it's wrong. It's deception, and it's part of this thing called artificial intelligence. You know, they come in and they lie through their teeth, and it's all artificial. But the artificialness of it, you know, is such. And what you hear there, it might be disinformation, and they have to twist it and twist it around. If an individual is guilty of disinformation, have you ever noticed they might blame their opposition for doing exactly what they're doing? And you know, they reverse it, and so there's a lot of fakery. This gets down to the whole issue of seeking truth. In the big picture, we seek truth as we come to events like this, and when we run for office and we write and talk, and so many people here have their own way of spreading a message. So yes, that is real good. But what we need, though, is some people really understanding the issues, because that is what will finally get people to change their minds rather than waiting. You know, one of the lines that was helpful for me in the campaigning, they would say, "Yeah, Ron, that's okay. We're with you on this, but it's so complicated. Well, how do you stop these wars?" And I said, "You just marched in, we can just march home." But now I've changed that a little bit. We shorten that. We have to anticipate, just don't send them in at all. You know, there's such a fallacy, and this is part of the propaganda thing, that it's so necessary, not for patriotic reasons, but for other reasons. And there's always an excuse. The one that annoys me the most, or at least close to the most, is this argument. They'll say, "Well, we need a good war right now. We're having a recession. Have a war and we'll get out of the recession." And this is a lingering of a foolhardy idea that the World War II got us out of the Great Depression. That's stupid. It wasn't true at all. The Depression got worse. Besides, we sent hundreds of thousands of people over getting shot at and killed. And they say, "Oh, the war's good, that'll get us out of our Depression." So there's all kinds of excuses like that, and they don't mention the many things that have already been mentioned at this conference, that there's ulterior motives and you know, like profits, and we're getting too many of these special groups, like the military-industrial complex. We have the pharmaceutical-industrial complex, the medical-industrial complex, the whole works. What we need to do is have a people's independence, and they're the ones who should be looked at. And you know, another little rule that I think we should follow is that, and this is one word, I like to narrow down my philosophy. And the other word that I like is voluntarism. It would be a wonderful world to live in, that if you apply voluntarism, which is nonviolence, and you have voluntarism. What do you mean? That means you can go to the store and buy what you want. Voluntarism.
How are we doing, Mr. Secular? How are we doing, Ken? Huh? How are we doing?
Voluntarily.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
It's hard to get a close-up on him.
You can't force anybody to do
There's like a tier system here. Did you notice that? Yeah. They've got one area gated, and they have an inner gate too. So they want to keep that.
Making it so that it's not voluntary. If somebody gets to write a lot of regulations,
I find it funny that, you know, a lot of our privacy is being confiscated.
That's the problem.
You know?
Volunteerism is just a great idea. And the other thing is
Well, this is the last one of the
that is the tough thing.
last stands for
one reason why they're doing this,
freedom.
We're on the side of truth and the side of democracy and all these things. I work on the assumption of the issue of truth. I think is very, very important. That's what we're seeing here. That's why you're here. But we know the truth. I agree with peace is good.
I wonder if any of them are models, huh?
But we have to realize that a lot of other people, you know, have to say that a lot of other people don't know much about it. I have a personal belief that we as individuals.
It's okay to smoke a cigarette around here? It's okay to smoke a cigarette?
I've seen people smoke cigarettes.
The
crowd, no one notices.
Yeah, thank God for that small freedom.
Excellence and virtue. What would happen with them? If that happened, the government would be minuscule and they would be much better and maybe a little more virtuous. Thank you very much.
Dr. Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Our last closing video is a video sent specially to us by Roger Waters, international rock icon, and right after that we're going to be marching to the White House.
We've got speakers at the White House too.
Whoa!
Because I'm in Swiss. Can you hear me? Okay. When I was a young man, my mother used to tell me this. Roger, throughout your life, you face many difficult questions and problems. My advice to you, when you are, is this. Read. Listen to all sides of the argument, especially from those who don't always agree with. Research. When you have done everything, the next bit is easy. So what is the next bit? Then you just do the right thing. The invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation was illegal. I condemn it in the strongest possible terms. Also, the Russian invasion of Ukraine is not unprovoked. So I also condemn the provocateurs themselves.
It's like 1984, isn't it?
On behalf of the silent majority, I now address President Biden.
Hey, thanks so much for meeting up with me.
I speak with the voices.
Probably a low stressful time.
You.
God bless. Blasted that. Did you drive it?
No.
Thank God.
Neocons at the heart of government.
I discovered CBS.
Along with the national states in NATO and the principal provocateurs that I mentioned. I'm not apologizing for this beauty, you understand, but just a glance fleetingly back at the history of the last 30 years or so. You could have done better. You could have followed President Gorbachev in 1989. You could have kept Secretary of State Bacon's promise not to advance NATO 1 yard closer to the Russian border or on eastern extremities of the reorganized territory. Could have decided to rescue Putin's elections in his famous 10th February 2007 speech at the Security Conference in Europe, and shepherded us all towards or in 2008, could have chosen not to NATO eastwards, or in 2014, you could have refrained from engineering the illegal Maidan coup d'etat. supported immense supports. Now it's over, I shall know.
I guess dinner's on me.
They
Oh, thank you so much.
used by time on Ukraine for war that you waged. But they were also supports for the platform that President Zelensky ran on during his presidential campaign. Well, you fooled me, Mr. Zelensky. I thought you meant that stuff about ending the civil war in Donbass and giving Russia, your neighbor, some security assurances. I thought your senses were a bit of 2022, February, March, and April. You could have told Boris Johnson not to go to Kiev to struggle peace negotiations. You chose not to. And then, in September 2022, according to the Royal Loud, our best bit of the border seemed harsh. You blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. That's what later, releasing 300,000 tons of First you.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it happens a lot in
It's very funny.
yeah.
And then recently, Victoria Newland boasts about how pleased she is that it's a quote, hunk of junk at the sea. And Anthony Blinken boasts how perfectly its destruction suits the US imperial agenda. And now, to cap it all off, you have your idiot mouthpiece, Nick Price, deny that the USA had anything to do with it. We have heard no statement from you, Mr. President. There is no mainstream media coverage. I guess you and mainstream media think psychosis peace and mysterious exploding pipeline.
Hey, Miss. It's nice to meet you. I'm Sean.
I don't know how to like exist.
I'm a blogger.
Now is enough.
What do you mind if I?
Yeah, I do mind.
Okay.
So thanks.
Because I'm just hoping to get somebody's opinion because my camera battery's about to
Yeah,
die.
no, I'm not into that. Not into getting killed, but thank you.
What do you think of the event?
This is great. I wish there were more people. I wish people weren't scared away by being told it's not our kind of people here. You know, I have lots of friends who would be aghast that I was here. You know, because you're there with those people.
Imagine John Lennon.
That's what I think of that. I think it's important.
This is my first rally.
Yeah. I think it's important to get different kinds of people together. Really
The
important.
big dumb bullies in the schoolyard have agreed to stop playing nuclear.
What do you think of the message here?
All right, this is it. Everybody on stage. Give me the dance.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because they're talking over the underwater waters. I think the message is really
Come on
important.
over, guys.
Will stop them from
The overall message
precious
is
resources
we have to come together. Our enemies aren't the two sides. Our enemies are, the global capitalists, industrialists who are
Corporate America.
taking everything. Not just America, everywhere. Corporate everywhere. Corporate governmental everywhere. Across the world. We're just pawns.
Pieces in play.
I'd like to think so.
Good chess player?
Am I a chess player? No.
No.
All we are saying is give peace a chance. All we are saying is give peace a chance.
We didn't plan that part. It was kind of impromptu, so. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Now we march. Get ready. It's going to line up over here. It's going to be starting there. It's going to be going along this side of the reflecting pool to 17